Something strange is happening with the interstellar visitor, 3I Ataclas. NASA's SphereX Observatory just revealed a cloud of carbon dioxide gas pouring out of it, about 70 kilos every second. But here's the twist. Scientists expected water vapor too. Instead, nothing. The upper limit was so low it ruled out earlier claims that 3I Ataclas was shedding water at 40 kiloliters per second. This is puzzling because at its current distance from the Sun, just outside the so-called water ice line, water should have been boiling off, but it wasn't. Even more intriguing, its surface spectrum shows signs of frozen water, carbon dioxide ice, and organics, the same mix we see on Kuiper Belt objects bombarded by cosmic rays. So here's the question. Is 3I Ataclas really a typical comet, or is it something far stranger? A water-poor interstellar traveler defying our expectations? Make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss updates on mysteries like this one. In the last few hours, social media platforms have erupted with reports claiming that 3I Ataclas transmitted a message to Earth. What began as scattered whispers across niche communities quickly escalated into a storm of viral posts, reaching hundreds of thousands of people in mere hours. The story gained traction because it coincided with fresh telescope data released to select research groups, and soon speculation turned into widespread suspicion that something monumental had just taken place. On the 5th of June 2025, the SETI Institute confirmed that a narrowband radio signal had been received from the direction of Kepler 442b, a potentially habitable exoplanet located roughly 1,200 light-years away. For over 4 decades, SETI has scanned the skies in search of meaningful transmissions, logging and analyzing thousands of unusual bursts of static, pulsar noise, and satellite interference. But this signal stood apart from the rest. It did not arrive randomly, it repeated. Even more surprising, the signal's modulation patterns carried unmistakable traces of structure, as if encoded language had been woven into its intervals. Scientists who compared it to traditional codes like Morse noted the resemblance but stressed that it was far more complex, with levels of organization beyond any natural explanation. The first press briefing revealed how extraordinary this find was. Dr. Lina Romani, an astrophysicist from Berkeley who had long collaborated with SETI, addressed the world. Her voice trembled as she described the phenomenon. She admitted that it was unlike anything the Institute had ever encountered, and acknowledged that the patterns bore the unmistakable hallmarks of intelligence. She stopped short of drawing absolute conclusions, but made it clear the discovery was far beyond ordinary space noise. Then the stream abruptly cut off mid-question and never returned. Viewers initially thought it was a technical glitch, but when the press conference vanished entirely without follow-up, unease began to spread. 2 days later, on the 7th of June, an anonymous user on an underground forum posted what they claimed was an internal NASA briefing document. While the source seemed questionable, the file contained technical data that was far too elaborate to dismiss. Spectrograms, waveform breakdowns, encryption models, and even AI-assisted translations were included. The most shocking part was a partial transcript of the decoded message. It stated, "When we have watched. We come in cycles. You are not alone, prepare." The starkness of the words fueled an online firestorm. Independent researchers, data analysts, and amateur astronomers rushed to examine the document, cross-referencing its content against known signal analysis techniques. The thread exploded across platforms, leaping from online forums into mainstream social media, with entire communities working in real time to unravel the mystery. By the 9th of June, the information vanished. Threads were deleted, accounts banned, links erased, even archive snapshots disappeared. To many, this erasure only reinforced the suspicion that something genuine had slipped out. 2 days later, on the 11th of June, the White House issued a carefully worded statement. It acknowledged that anomalies had been detected in communication arrays, but insisted there was no evidence suggesting an intelligent origin. The message also urged the public to ignore misinformation spreading on unofficial platforms. That same day, NASA's Deep Space Network went offline for what they described as scheduled maintenance. SETI's official website locked into restricted access, and the Allen Telescope Array livestream, once running around the clock, displayed only an error. The timing of these shutdowns was too precise to be dismissed as coincidence. Soon after, a whistleblower using the alias Jed who had previously worked with the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, revealed that the transmission had not been a one-way occurrence. Earth scientists had sent signals back to the source, and multiple responses had been received in return. These replies were transmitted across different frequencies, carrying the unmistakable fingerprints of intelligence. When pressed further about the content of the new messages, Jed revealed only that it was not a threat, but an invitation. Despite the magnitude of this revelation, media coverage dwindled. Major networks avoided the story. Independent journalists reported unusual difficulties in publishing, and podcast episodes covering the subject vanished from their platforms. Even notable scientists who spoke out seemed to retract their statements. Neil deGrasse Tyson briefly wrote that first contact might not be dramatic but instead strangely ordinary, only to delete the remark shortly afterward. What should have been the most significant news of the century seemed to dissolve into silence as the days passed. Strange visual phenomena were reported in the skies. On the 15th of June, amateur astronomers in Chile, Japan, and Canada began documenting flashes of light from the direction of Kepler 442b. Unlike supernovas or stellar bursts, these appeared as deliberate pulses, repeating in a pattern. 3 flashes, followed by 6, then 3 again, in cycles occurring roughly every 19 hours. Some observers linked the sequence to the original transmission intervals. Others speculated it might be a countdown or a form of secondary communication. The absence of confirmation from mainstream observatories only deepened the mystery. While governments and institutions maintained silence, the public conversation spread through social media, encrypted channels, and grassroots networks of skywatchers. Every new observation was shared, debated, and analyzed, but official acknowledgement remained absent. For those who had followed the story from the beginning, the sequence of events formed a clear timeline. A structured signal was received. It was decoded into an intelligible message. Earth responded, and multiple responses were sent back. Then came a coordinated effort to suppress public knowledge. The decoded phrase "prepare" became the focus of debate. What were humans being asked to prepare for? Some argued that it was an announcement of arrival, a warning that a presence was drawing nearer. Others believed it was an invitation for dialogue, a call for humanity to step beyond isolation and into a galactic community. A smaller group feared that the message signaled a shift in cycles, suggesting that whatever intelligence had reached out had done so many times before, always watching, always waiting, returning according to some unknown timetable. The flashes of light, repeating in their 6-to-3 pattern, were seen as proof that the message had extended beyond radio waves and into visual signaling. This dual-method communication demonstrated a sophistication that left little doubt as to its deliberate nature. Combined with the whistleblower statement that Earth's response had been acknowledged, it formed a chain of evidence too compelling to ignore. The silence of institutions has become its own message. By withdrawing access, restricting data, and avoiding the subject in public forums, they have only confirmed the reality of the phenomenon to those who have seen the evidence. Instead of calming speculation, the silence has fueled suspicion that humanity stands on the edge of contact and that governments are struggling with how to manage the revelation. The events of June 2025 mark a turning point in humanity's story. For decades, people speculated about the possibility of receiving a message from the stars. Few expected it to arrive with such clarity, repetition, and undeniable structure. Fewer still imagined that it would be followed by deliberate suppression and silence. Yet the facts remain. A message came. It was decoded. Earth replied, and the reply was answered. The truth of this moment may not be broadcast across televisions or printed in headlines, but it exists in the records of those who paid attention, in the flashes of light witnessed by skywatchers, in the documents briefly leaked online, and in the words "prepare" that continue to echo in every conversation about what comes next.